All right, good morning, everyone, and we are live. Welcome to another edition of Rogue Mornings. Today is Monday, August the 7th. Kind of hard to believe that August is just up and running so quickly. Also, V is still on vacation, probably sitting on the beach somewhere, sipping some banana daiquiris. So, want to wish him, a great vacation and enjoy, while I'm sitting here working away, V. So, I want you to think about that. Anyway, I want to send a shout out to our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us. If you are in the need of credit repair, perhaps need that higher credit score to redo your mortgage, buy a new car, myfreedomnow.us. Also want to thank mygoldusb.com. Go dark online, avoid government surveillance, military grade encryption. Again, check out mygoldusb.com. Got a message. I know I was in the chat room earlier, and yes, very excited to have London Paul back today. He will be delivering another series report today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so stay tuned right here for that. But before we start into the recent information, a lot went on this weekend. Just want to share a couple of great articles on roguemoney.net. Make sure you go check those out. If you've been listening recently to Mike Cernovich or Alex Jones InfoWars, you probably caught on that here recently they have been sharing quite a bit regarding the deep state's move against Trump, in particular McMaster and his efforts to kind of undermine things that are happening within the administration. James, the Russian analyst, put a great article together in regards to Clint Watts, who is apparently out there stating that InfoWars, that Cernovich are in line with these Russian officials, and they created this hashtag Fire McMaster. It's trending on Twitter right now, and he's out claiming this, which is in fact, not true. So go check that out, roguemoney.net. Also, I read it when she first released it, but Bankster Slayer put out a very interesting article that's kind of taken over the internet right now in a lot of the alt news media. And that's in regards to a book that was published in 1893. And the book is titled Baron Trump and the Tropical Ice World. It's just very interesting to you have to go to Deb's Bankster Slayer's blog and to read it. And there are a few, like what she states in there, that she doesn't believe in anything's coincidence, and it kind of ties into this, young boy who goes into the underworld to the, what would be probably the Antarctic, this ice world, and even I think at one point, the last president, the new book that's out there even shows Pence's name in there. But anyway, go check that out. There's some videos there. People are also beginning to almost do kind of like an audio format of the book. You can order the book still. Amazon has reprinted the book. And in an interesting note, she emailed W over the weekend and asked for his input on this particular book. And this is his, quote unquote, as I mentioned privately previously, I am of the opinion that Trump was a construct over decades for exactly his role now, and that those who are playing us or so advanced anticipating our actions and reactions, that we are 50 to 100 years behind them in understanding the game, and they have been gaming us for all along. Of course, ultimately, is the Luciferian intelligence behind this. You can't think too big. So go check out those articles. I don't do it justice, just telling you what it says in there. I reached out to Bankster this morning, see if she wanted to jump in to, share her thoughts on it. So go check those out, roguemoney.net. So let's jump right into the most recent news. And Nikki Haley was finally able to convince to work with China, Russia, in regards to these new UN sanctions that were passed against North Korea. Now, these sanctions will have a pretty, drastic impact on North Korea. This is set to affect, 1/3 of their economy in regards to their imports and exports. This was voted on by the entire 15 council members of the Security Council and passing this bill. Now, within accomplishing this bill specifically, she was able to align. And if you take a look at, North Korea's actions, whether, you believe them or not, whether they actually physically have missiles that can reach the United States, China made a great point to mention the fact that perhaps maybe in addition to these sanctions, perhaps the United States needs to look at, our efforts to arm South Korea and our military programs there as well. I'm not justifying Kim Jong-un's behavior or what he does, but you take a look at the escalation of the South and the amount of military hardware that we've poured into that country. It's time that we kind of take a look at that as well. Now, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson had a meeting over this weekend with some South Korea officials, Japanese. I don't think North Korea was in attendance. So now we're going to see a lot of rhetoric, come out from Kim Jong regarding that, oh, there's going to be a retaliation of a 1,000-fold, against the United States. Hopefully, London Paul will have a lot more information about this. I guess in part, my concern regarding the fact is that not only did these UN sanctions occur, but then over the weekend you also had McMaster, who is kind of taking on the Bush doctrine, and that's a preemptive war. Kind of what we witnessed when supposedly the Twin Towers knocked down, and this was orchestrated out of Afghanistan, but yet we went to Iraq and waged war in Iraq. So McMaster is kind of on the out there, has talked about what I like to call a preemptive war or preemptive strike, against North Korea. And he's out actually advocating and supporting this, stating that perhaps, whether or not North Korea's ballistic program could impact the United States, we should still act preemptively to strike against those forces, against those weapons. And we know that this has been, war gamed up and down several times in regards to the amount of casualties, the amount of countries that will be drawn into this. I don't think it's needed. I think that these sanctions and unfortunately, when these sanctions occur, the thing that upsets me the most, it usually impacts the everyday person in North Korea. It doesn't necessarily impact the regime or the family. They're safeguarded against all this. So this is just one thing that we'll have to keep our eyes on in terms of the deep state's mission to escalate North Korea, to give us that distraction, to give us that war that the military industrial complex so needs to continue producing, manufacturing, selling these weapons to continue the chaos around the globe. Now, interestingly enough, another story that did not get shared, that kind of went undercover, if you will, a little bit, is in regards to a article that's out there from the geopolitics alert, and the fact that we now have more troops in Yemen and potentially more on the way. Now, these troops are supposedly, what's being reported, supporting UAE troops that are there to support, to protect the oil and gas fields that are there in Yemen. We've been reporting for the fact that for the last couple years, the fact that the Saudis have been waging war there in Yemen. So one has to come into play to question the true actions of the military. Is this something, once again, that perhaps that McMaster signed off on? There's been some reports that he has been acting unilaterally without getting the president involved to discuss these things. So this is being reported on multiple fronts in regards to the U.S. military there and our actions. And more importantly, why isn't this being reported? Why isn't this more information coming out regarding our efforts and what's transpiring, in Yemen? And Yemen, for the longest time, has been a quote unquote playground for the previous administrations with Bush, with Obama. You remember Obama, used Yemen for massive, drone strikes the past several years. So are we witnessing potentially, U.S. intervention to help the Saudis in their efforts in Yemen? I think that's a definitely a question that has to come into play with this, and we'll continue to monitor to see exactly what's going on. Other news is that very exciting weekend for Bitcoin, and you may have seen a report that I think I saw someone post in the blog. Yes, Bitcoin took off this weekend. I checked this morning and it was trading at about 3,345 per Bitcoin, which just is amazing. I remember looking back last week and I think it was a little over $2,600 that it was trading at. Now, an interesting article that has came out on Zero Hedge, and that's in regards to a mysterious trader that is actually leveraging what they're quoting as nearly unlimited bankroll. And this particular trader has been able to, now he's been shut off in a couple of markets, but because of his huge trades that he has initiated, and some of them have been canceled in regards to manipulating the market, this particular trader, now this trader, again, it could be an individual, could be a group of traders, goes by the name of Spoofy. And Spoofy has been able to basically manipulate the Bitcoin market. So, go to Zero Hedge and read this article. It's a lengthy article. Coinbase has also reported on it, and the ability for them to manipulate the cryptocurrency space. So it comes with everything else that we've been reporting on our last Friday with DEX, and we spent a lot of time talking about the cryptocurrency space, everything involved with it. And I think he said it best, that within all these things, whether it's the stock market, whether it's precious metals, whether it's cryptocurrency, to do your homework, do your research. There's nothing guaranteed with these trades. Everything is involved with a calculated risk that each person must consider. So go check that out. Something that we've been talking about quite a bit is the fact that the cryptocurrency space isn't one of those fail-proof without any type of market manipulation, because there's time after time clear examples where individuals or organizations are out there affecting that space. Now, another great news that came out, and this particular of interest for the fact that when you take a look at Donald Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton, one of the narratives that the DNC, that the hard left like to state, is the fact that Trump won the electoral. However, the popular vote that he lost in part to a couple of states. Now, the Election Integrity Project of California has provided a list to Judicial Watch of 11 California counties that have more registered voters than voting age citizen. In one extreme example, in Los Angeles County, the number of voters now stands at a whopping 144% of the total number resident of citizens voting age. Now think about that for a minute. Think about that in terms of the population density in these California counties. Think of how that amount of massive voter fraud very well could manipulate not only the state elections, but also the national elections as well. I can't remember how many electorals that California carries, but more importantly, there's a few examples that I can think of specifically in regards to California. Take a look, for example, at Bernie Sanders, how they called the victory for Hillary almost like a week in advance of the actual election, and now we know why. Their ability to manipulate the vote, in these California counties is just very significant. So again, we have to come into place. Why is California calling for Calexit? Why do they want, out of the United States? They have this whole thing that they're basically trying to do a Brexit. They're calling it Calexit. and we're taking a look at all this voter fraud. So not only in terms of the local elections, the state elections, the federal elections, all this has to come into play. So it's very interesting, and Judicial Watch does a great job. I really have to tip my hat to those guys, and everything that they expose, the amount of work that they do is very significant. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm not going to go into really other great details, in part because I'm so excited to get London Paul for the series report today. He was off last week. He had some matters he had to take care of, but he's back. He emailed me. He's very excited to get on and share his information. He's really going to be tying a lot of things together to make sense of what is happening. Now, I want to jump back to one of the first things I talked about in that, and then that's the matter regarding InfoWars and Mike Cernovich and their efforts. I truly believe that we are witnessing an escalation of events of the deep state and their move towards trying to attempt something with Donald Trump. And what we have to do, what our audience needs to do, is to continue sharing those messages, whether it's articles, whether it's broadcasts like this one, talking in specifically to call out the deep state, to call these people out, to say that we are actively, observing and watching what is transpiring. And there's no doubt that with the media and their stories reporting, I think it was Newsweek that had an article in regards to that Trump is lazy, he's not getting anything accomplished, listen, Donald Trump by no means is he perfect, okay? No one is. That's a matter of fact. However, when you take a look at the current crisis that we're in and the amount of attempts that are coming at him from both Democratic and Republican, both parties to come after him, now it's time for us, for the supporters of Donald Trump to unite, to stand for what has been, throughout history, our election process. And, elections have consequences. We dealt with Barack Obama for 8 years, and nothing ever happened to that guy with the amount of criminal activity that the Hillary, while she was Secretary of State. So again, now is the time to support, to share the information, to prepare for an offensive, to finally go after and prosecute and jail these criminals that for so long have gotten away with, massive crimes against humanity. So anyway, I'm not going to continue going on, but this is CJ delivering another Rogue Money morning. So very excited to do the broadcast. And again, I'll message with V later on to get a firm date and time that he will be back. Tune back in at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for London Paul with the series report. And we are over and out.